Hi, I'm Chef Keith Corbin, and I am the only felon who fought to have my rights restored by the courts. And he said that I've read the letters. He said I was a detective in South LA, in my area of the Grape Streets. He was a prosecutor in Compton Court, and he was a judge in Compton Court. And he sat on the bench on many of murder cases coming out of the Jordandale housing projects. And to see you come from that and have all these stories and testimonies about what you're doing today, the judge said, I am honored to grant this certificate of rehabilitation. And I'm going to put in a recommendation to the governor for a pardon.
I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins. This is the Only One in the Room podcast, but I'm never the only one in this room, especially since my boyfriend, producer, and co-host Scott Slaughter, I can say that again, who I call Hun, is here as well.
Hi, honey.
Hey, Hun.
You can just call me Hun.
Yeah, I just call you Hun. So today we're here with Chef Keith Corbin.
Again.
You all probably remember his episode. It was one of our most downloaded episodes ever.
I was going to ask about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, people love that episode. The story is amazing. We're going to talk about the story a little bit, but I just wanted to just talk a little bit about how you and I have connected over the years. Starting with the interview, right? Where we interviewed you for the podcast because you had your book came out in October?
August
of 2022.
Yep, and the paperback will be released this August on the 6th.
Oh, nice. And it's called California Soul.
An American epic of cooking and survival.
Yes. If you haven't, listened to or read this book yet, you definitely want to. I've never heard a story like it. I don't think I ever will.
It's one of 3 books I've completed in the last 2 years.
Yes, that's true. It's true.
I proudly say that, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's great.
So my book, which was released in 2023, Stash My Life in Hiding.
Which is one of the other books I've finished reading.
Yeah, it
is
is.
Also amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that put us, you and I, on this trajectory after the interview to appear at certain of these book events together.
Yes. I believe you interviewed me on one of them, right?
Yeah,
you
I
was
did.
The facilitator.
Yeah.
And then in the same one, we were co-panels.
That's right.
Yes.
We were at the Tucson Festival of Books, and we were at the San Diego Writers Festival. Together, and so it was just really cool, and it was so nice to see, like, Tucson, and no shade on Tucson, but it's very white. Like, that festival is really, really white.
Isn't they all of them white?
I mean, yeah, I think Miami's not as white. Didn't you go to that?
I went to Miami.
It wasn't as white, right? Or was it?
It's white.
It's white. I mean, okay, so it's a book event. It's a book fair. It's a book festival. But for me, I was brand new. Yeah. My book wasn't out yet.
Yeah. And
to know that you were there and see you, there were like 100,000 people there or something. It's the second largest book festival in the U.S.
In Tucson.
In Tucson. And so it was really, really cool to see your face there and to be able to kind of hang out with you.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah. And then the San Diego Writers Festival, which was also really nice. It was shorter though, because it was just smaller. Yeah. And then we did our team dinner for the podcast, our end of the year dinner at Alta Adams, and you're such a gracious host. So Alta Adams is Chef Keith Corbin's restaurant here in Los Angeles, and it is amazing Californian soul food cooking. Can you tell us a little bit about the food there?
So when I dreamed up Alta Adams in the cuisine, it was taking the food that I grew up eating. Right, my grandmother, I watched her cook. She didn't actually teach me how to cook, but watching her cook and dining in her in her kitchen or at the table, I grew up eating fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, beef and potato burritos, and things of that nature. And so I just imagine what the food my granny made, what it would be like if I created with better ingredients.
Yeah.
Better sourcing, things like that. And so when thinking about it, my partner Daniel Patterson was like, how about if we go further? Right? How about if we take what you grew up eating and deframe it? Then how would you reframe it? And so that's when I came up with California Soul Food.
Yes.
And so it was more so about taking the food that I grew up eating and using the things that's around me.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, researching the creators of soul food, which is our enslaved ancestors, they just did the exact same thing that I was imagining, right? They took techniques and ideas and created dishes with new ingredients when they were brought here. And so I figured I could do this, keep the trend going and create the food with the ingredients and cultures and influence that was surrounding me in California.
Yeah, man, and you really did that. I mean, there are things that I still dream about at your restaurant. The macaroni and cheese is one of them.
Thank you.
It's definitely some of the best. I mean,
and
probably,
the collard greens. Yeah.
And the collard greens.
I mean, together, I think they go together for sure.
And then the pimento cheese and is it Ritz crackers?
Yeah, but I don't even have the pimento cheese on the menu anymore.
What?
Yeah.
All right, but we evolve and change and make new things. So I'll come find something else that I love at your restaurant.
We got you.
Let me just read something about you, okay? Chef Keith Corbin is the 2-time James Beard Award nominated executive chef and co-owner of Alta Adams, which you just talked about, the author of the Los Angeles Times best-selling book, California Soul. What's the rest of the title?
American Epic of Cooking and Survival.
Thank you. And a public speaker, a much sought-after public speaker. So this is from your publicist, I'm imagining. Growing up in the Jordan Downs housing projects in Watts, Keith was running in a gang, drug dealing, which eventually led to his incarceration. And it was in prison that he first started cooking and working in kitchens. And we know now from what you just said and from the last episode that your cooking inspiration started in your grandmother's kitchen.
Yeah, and this first, and not to cut you off, but
yeah,
that was one of the reasons I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Because they tell this story in a way of prison to here, as if my story started there, right? Mm-hmm. I started cooking way before prison.
Yeah.
When you're in an underserved community and maybe your parents are on drugs and you've been raised by your grandmother and your grandma is older and her energy is limited, you grow up faster. And even that's even so for some single mothers that's raising kids, right? They're working. And so you have to get in the kitchen and learn how to do some things pretty early.
Right.
And when I'm me being the eldest son and my sister the oldest, and then there's me, and we're only about 11 months apart, we had to learn how to cook. My grandmother would make dinner, but if you wanted to eat breakfast and lunch, you would figure it out. And so we early on started cooking things and creating things. Also, when you have limited resources, you learn how to pair things together that normally wouldn't go together, right? You find that balance to make it palatable, to be able to eat and put something on your stomach. And so being creative and learning how to cook just came with poverty.
Yeah.
Circumstance. The kitchen in prison was just another form of that. Prison is just an extension of the community that I'm from. Yeah,
and you were starting to talk about that before we started rolling. Tell me a little bit, because you were saying growing up in Watts, this was kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me about that.
I mean, growing up in Watts, for a large percentage, it is inevitable to venture or take a tour through prison. It's just unavoidable for most of us. And so I always had a feeling that prison was on my path.
Yeah.
Right, for my lifestyle. And in regards to the certificate of rehabilitation that we'll talk about later, it's funny that you'll have 90% of males around you that have been to prison at some point in time, and they can tell you all about prison, but no one knew about a certificate of rehabilitation. You never heard of it.
Right.
You never heard of a certificate.
I never heard of it.
You only hear about governor pardons, presidential pardons, or some form of expungement.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Not a certificate of rehabilitation.
Yeah. And I want to talk about what that means in general and what it means for you. And I'm really glad that you stopped me and talked about those, the meals that you make out of like cornmeal, because that's what's in the cupboard, right? Or whatever it might be.
Or taking hot dogs and wrapping it in a biscuit and baking it and calling it pigs in a blanket.
That sounds actually really good.
Taking the biscuits and cutting a hole in the middle and frying it in some grease and make your own donuts, right? Mm-hmm. Put some little sugar on it. Like, we had to figure it out.
Yeah. And you did.
Yeah.
So, yes, you went. So, and the other thing that we didn't really talk about, because we talked about this extensively in the episode before, but when you almost made it like a hypothetical just now, like if your parents are, into drugs and you're raised by your grandmother, but that was your story.
That was my story.
Yeah. And I think I remember this correctly, that someone was dealing drugs out of your diaper. I don't remember.
My uncle.
Your uncle.
God bless him.
Yes.
That's my starting story when I tell people about you. I'm like, look, this is how he grew up.
Yeah.
This is that. I mean, that was the network. You have some families or some communities or some form of network where things were built before you. And so as you get older, you get groomed for it and you get plugged in. You're able to get plugged in. Let's say your father has a law firm or some Fortune 500 company, and you go to school and you get your lawyer degree. Mm-hmm. You can go work at the family firm.
Right.
Well, I didn't have that. The network that was built around my community, my family, was the drug trade. Mm-hmm. And I had family members that were good at it, And so as I got older, and they believed that felt I was too old to financially support, they weren't in a position to teach me how to get a job, right? So they plugged me into the network that they knew.
Yeah.
And that's when I was taught how to cook drugs and sell drugs.
Well, and one of the things that I think is really fascinating about your story to me is that you were a nerdy kid in spite of all that prior to, right?
Yeah, it was a push and pull.
It was a push-pull. We were just talking about that with training. Mm-hmm. But your life was a push-pull because you had this, I think of you as your authentic self, this curiosity, right? Mm-hmm. This intelligence, this desire to kind of do well in class. Yeah. And then you're plugged into this life.
Well, before you're even plugged in, you're faced with survival. Right? Yeah. You're faced on many different forms. And when I try to speak, a lot of this is my experience, but then a lot of it I speak in hypotheticals because I'm also telling stories that belong to other people. Right. I'm not the only one that lived this story. Like my neighbors did, my friends did. Many of us did. I am just the one that have the opportunity to share it from my experience and my perspective, right? And so I always want to make that clear. Like, it's not like I'm a unicorn, like I'm the only one that went through this. No, my whole community went through this. I didn't know what a 2-parent home was unless I watched The Cosby Show or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There was no 2-parent homes around me. There was no black professionals around where I grew up. When I grew up, there was gangsters, drug dealers, hustlers, and pimps, and addicts. That's it. Mm. And so when I tell the story, I can tell you my experience, but then I also want to share other things that was going on in the community so people can have a broad understanding of what we're faced with down there. Some people, I deal with a lot of black professionals now, and a lot of them have these idea that all of us are equal in a sense where an opportunity. And I'm like, that's not true. It's not true. Especially when you're telling me you have a 2-parent home, your father worked and made enough to where your mother didn't have to was able to stay home and care for the kids, right? And you were in Fontana, San Bernardino, or any other area outside of the projects. You cannot compare your upbringing to the projects or to Watts or to Compton at a certain time, right? Where your school has resources, right? Has up-to-date books, have funding to take you on trips to give you exposure. Exposure is important because without exposure, you can't imagine, you can't even dream of what you want to be because you don't even know it exists, right? And then you have, on one hand, one school that's low-funded and an underserved community. And so when these young men and women are coming out of college to be educators, they don't want to go take a job there. So you know who's working at these schools? The same young men and women that's around you when you get out of school, that you see your teacher after school smoking a blunt.
Right.
Or if the age is at a certain level, they might be trying to screw you. And then you go into school with them the next day as the facilitators or the caretakers. Like, you just can't compare. And so I've been wanting people to understand that.
I'm so glad you said that. I think that this is, one of the things that I talk about, that I write about, is equity and leveling the playing field. And it's not level. It's not level. This is why affirmative action was set into place, because, Lyndon B. Johnson said you cannot take a chained, hobbled person and put them at the starting line with someone who's known freedom all their lives and saying, run the race.
Yeah.
You have to make it equal, right? You have to create some equity. And he was talking about enslaved people versus people who had grown up free at that time. But it is, and affirmative action, just as an aside, was not put into place to create diversity in educational institutions. It was put in place specifically to let Black people have an equal advantage to their white peers, to the dominant culture. And it became something else.
How are you going to have that when you have these white people in position of power with a mind frame or state of mind?
Yeah. I mean,
you can't enforce that.
No, you can't enforce it. But, it was repealed because they said it was about diversity.
Yeah.
And it served its purpose. But it hadn't served its purpose. Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you said that. So I want to talk a little bit about, you were on Jennifer Hudson the other day. I was like, wait a second.
Yes.
That's Chef Keith. Hudson. Yes. How was that?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. I was nervous as heck. And I typically am not. But unlike here, right, we're coming in, there's no script, there's no point, we're just having a conversation. You get in there and it's like everybody has an idea for you. You have to wear this, you have to do this, and sit right here and love your story, but let's have these points. And you're learning all this in like 7 minutes before you go on stage. And it's like, there's no way I'm finna blow this.
It's
I'm
a lot.
Blow it. And so that's why if you watch it, you see me, I came out a little nervous, trying to remember all this stuff. And then I sat down and said, you know what, screw that. Let's just chat.
There you go.
And let's just talk and I'll answer the questions.
Yeah. And
it won't be about no pointers, I think that for me, just naturally speaking and just telling it how it is and telling the truth about it, it's going to resonate with somebody if it's just one person in the crowd, right? And so I don't like all that. I love the show.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it was a scripted show, but they have this
of
a time frame.
Yeah, that's how
they want to fit everything
are.
in.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if I don't get everything in, let's just touch someone with what I can get in.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing with you though, is you're not going to come on and not be real.
Yeah, no, I don't know how.
You don't know how to do that. So you're going to get like where you are. You're going to come as you are in that moment, right? You're going to come with that energy. You're going to come with that story.
Yeah.
So it's I didn't get to see it. I just saw it on your social media, so I have to look at it.
You have to go look at it.
Yeah. And I didn't get to see you were with Selena Gomez.
Yes.
And it's called Selena Plus Restaurant, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That was really fun. It was comical.
Why?
In a sense. Because you think that you look at these shows and like I've watched it, but when they asked me to do it, so I went and watched some of the episodes prior to coming to restaurants and seeing it on Zoom when she's Zooming, cooking with other chefs and all this. Is like, okay, that's cool. But you don't think that no one has no knowledge in the kitchen.
Right.
Like that was where it was a shocker, like, oh, heck, like, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's like from scratch. Like you're...
From scratch.
Yeah.
Like when you see, like if you watched it, in the beginning when I asked her to do the test about the 3 eggs, no, they really didn't know how, like they edited. I had to come back in and like they were trying to scramble the eggs on the side of the stove that was off.
Oh no.
But that's how funny it was.
That's going to take a while, huh?
That's how, and so I'm out of the kitchen
yeah.
with the camera crew watching this and I'm telling the camera crew, I have to go in there and kind of like redirect them
to the hot side of
the stove, you know. Yeah. And so that it was hilarious. It was a great time. If you watched it, you heard me ask Raquel, like, where did you come from? Mm-hmm. Like, it's like,
what's going on?
Like, seriously,
yeah.
We're trying to do a poached egg, and you have her drop the whole egg in the water. Like, that's a boiled egg. Like, have you ever had an Easter egg? Like, do you not know what a boiled egg is? But they were great. Raquel and Selena was amazing. I enjoyed working with them. You can tell that Selena's been doing this for a long time.
She's a pro.
She's an absolute pro.
Yeah.
Raquel, you know why she's there. She brings the energy. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I had an amazing time. I would love to do it again.
Well, I have to watch that too. But
oh my God, have you done any research? Are you not prepared? Are you not prepared?
I saw it. I am going to watch it because it looks so cute. I wanted to talk about that because it leads into the certificate of rehabilitation, right?
Okay.
So you, how long were you in prison?
10 out of 11 years. So
yeah.
Total of 10 years within an 11-year span. So
a decade.
Yes.
Out of your life.
Absolutely.
In a system that is supposed to be designed to rehabilitate.
Yeah. Have anyone told them that?
But that's the purpose, right? It's to rehabilitate
that's
people.
What they sell the American citizens on.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It is designed to make profit.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but you spend a decade in this system that is actually designed for profit, and idealistically, like the idea that's the pitch, is that people are going in there to be reformed and rehabilitated. Mm-hmm. And you came out of there like a lot of people come out of prison with kind of no options at first, right?
Yeah. Well, I went in with no options.
Right.
I come home with no options.
Yeah.
Come back home to the same community, in the same predicament, same situation. So, yeah.
And then so you did what you did before, right?
What's that?
Like you were cooking cocaine, you were you were doing, I don't know what else you were doing, I don't remember. But you were doing.
So I came home and I attempted to get a job.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That was the first thing you did.
That was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
That job, I wound up getting terminated because of my background. Excuse me. And then I got in the kitchen, but the kitchen wasn't supporting me enough at the time. And so I had an opportunity to do some little street chemistry on the side.
Street chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were, in fact, doing that all the way up to the time that you
got ready to open out.
ready to open this restaurant.
I was working in San Francisco, and Oakland. I was in the Bay Area. I would get up in the morning at 6, 7 in the morning, go to work, work from 7 to about 7:30 p.m., 7 a.m. to about 7:30 p.m. because we were opening a restaurant. So put in a lot of hours. And then at 7:30, I would shoot to the airport to catch about the 8:20 flight from the Bay Area to Long Beach, get picked up at the airport, go into the kitchen, and cook dope or do some street chemistry. All night. And from the kitchen straight to the airport about 6 something in the morning to fly in for my next shift.
Damn.
At work, yes. And I did that for just under a year. Mm-hmm. Just under a year. And it just dawned on me, like, what are you doing? One, that's not how I always operate. I love being in control of the situation, and I wasn't in control. I was being fueled by the money. And also the excitement, because I had been out of the game for a while, right? So tapping back in. But I started thinking, like, I don't know what these people are doing in my absence, and I'm flying into a situation I just have no control over, no idea. One day I can walk in there and the feds just raid the house, you know? And so I had to really think about, like, what it is I wanted.
And you had something to lose.
And I had something to lose. I was making progress. And also I was fueled by my addiction too, because, you know, when I was cooking, I would leave with
enough to get you back.
Enough to, you know, I have some money, I have some drugs, I can get high, party, all that. So, but I had to think about it. So I contacted him. He contacted me to fly down, and I flew down there. And before I actually went in the kitchen, I told him, I said, you know what, this be the last time. And so you tell me exactly how you want it. You want me to double it? You want me to make it 1.5, or you want me to bring it back exactly to what you're giving me? But this is the last time I'm flying down here to do this. And I haven't been in the kitchen as a street chemist since.
Damn. Did he ask you to double it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I thought
well,
so.
What he asked me to do was double half of it. Because when you double half of it, when you double it, it kind of weakens it.
Right.
And so the strategy that I was telling him is, you know what? Let's double majority of it, right? We'll double that, and then we'll hold some, and we'll cook it down to, like, straight pure. That way, by the time the first customer come around and come back and tell you that was BS, you have something good to give them, and then you bring them right back, right? Wow. And then you have to figure it out from there. And so that was the last cook I did for him.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
I mean, but that's what the community, that's what poverty breeds.
Yes.
That's what not having opportunity and no resources breed. It breeds entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know, because we can't get a job. So you are taught either you're going to cut some grass, you're going to set up a lemonade stand, whatever it is. You got to get out there and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we're taught how to figure it out. You know, Watts, we are taught to survive. You know, it's just fortunate for us that those letters line up to that statement, but that statement applies across the board in many communities. They're taught to survive. And so when you talk about entrepreneurship, mostly more black entrepreneurs come from the ghettos than from college.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I mean, that makes so much sense. Because like the math you just did in your head the math you did in your head then to, you know, figure out how this could go the furthest, right? And then anticipating the customer coming back unhappy, and like, this is how you keep them coming back again, because now we'll give them this.
Yep.
So you become who you are now. You stop doing drugs. You get sober. You invest everything into Alta Adams.
But
what?
Alta Adams, the community, the people,
Yes.
Not the restaurant.
Yes. Talk about that. Tell me more.
I hire formerly incarcerated. I hire young men and women who probably wouldn't get a job or opportunity nowhere else. If experience is a prerequisite into this field, then who's the gatekeeper for the unexperienced, right? The me's. And so I tell the team in the kitchen all the time, you're in the kitchen, you're going to learn how to cook. You're going to burn the damn toast and make it again. You're going to screw up the omelet, make it again. You're going to cut the chives wrong, we're going to cut them again. You're going to learn that, right? That's a given. You're in the kitchen. What I'm here for is to help you change the way you think.
How do they respond to that?
I believe they respond really well.
They like that.
They love it.
Yeah.
I when you have your team can come to you and pose scenarios in the streets and like how would you handle it, or what if it was you, what would you do? Right? And you have those experience in similar scenarios and you can help guide them.
Yeah.
Like that's dope.
That's dope.
Like you're not coming, like when they're not coming to me about what temperature to fry the chicken. They're coming to me about like, man, I got this situation, this dude or these dudes, like, man, what you think I should do? And I can be a counselor and a concierge in that way. Like that's what I do it for, right?
Yeah.
Because now I'm helping you see how to make better decisions. Because it's easy for me to just say, oh, what if that was me? I was just going to bust his head.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's not me anymore, right? And that's not how I got to where I'm at. I had to change the way I think and kind of like pull things apart and kind of strategize and move.
Yeah.
And so being able to help them navigate life outside of the restaurant. Because if they can't figure that out, they can't go nowhere in the restaurant anyway. If I didn't figure out the drug abuse and the alcoholism and my trauma and get a hold and wrestle that down, I wouldn't be here anyway. Right? The restaurant, just being at Alta as the chef wasn't going to get me in this seat to have this conversation. It wasn't going to make me a 2-time James Beard nominee. It wasn't going to take me, like we talk about, to all these book tours. Right? Being I'm the chef of Alta, that doesn't get me anything, right? Changing the way I deal with things, the way I think, the way I view things, how I respond, becoming this new person, right?
Yeah.
But also being present on the board to be able to experience these things, like because you can't. I don't care what you say. If you're not here, you can't receive it.
That's right.
So if you're in prison somewhere or dead, then you can't receive the blessings anyway. Or high.
Because that's another way to be gone.
Yeah. You can't receive it.
No.
And so when people ask me, about my legacy, I want to be remembered for being present, whether it's in my kids' life. I want my son and my daughters to know that I was present when it's about the team. When they look up, like, chef's always present. I'm there for them.
Right.
When it's about my community, I'm present. It's not about finances. It's not about the book tours. It's not about the book. It's not about no TV show. I just want to be remembered for being present.
Yeah.
I was there.
And so you have that. You have this, you're living this legacy. You're giving access to people in your community that they wouldn't have had access to before. How long have you been out of prison?
I don't even think about it, so I have to count right now. 2014, 10 years.
10 years. So 7 years is a period of rehabilitation.
Is it?
Legally. Yes, I looked that up. See, I did some research.
Okay.
And 7 years is a period of rehabilitation. You were able to apply for your certificate of rehabilitation after you've been out of prison for 7 years, is what they say. Or you can apply for it beforehand, but it won't be granted until that time period has passed. But you are already this man, right? Who lives in this community. You loom large in a way because you are the ideal. Like, you've done the impossible, and you've come back and you've done something that people can see. You're not doing it in downtown San Francisco. You're not doing it in Midtown Manhattan. You're doing it in Los Angeles, in an area where people who grew up around you can come and eat and work.
Still tangible.
So why was the certificate of rehabilitation important for you to get?
So when I learned about it, it was important for me to go through the process to be able to bring awareness and educate people, right? And kind of show them how to go through it, explain to them how I can go through it. 2, if you know my background and my history, for me to be able to attain that in itself is a feat. So people that actually know me and know the life that I lived and see that I was able to get it, like, I'm quite sure they like, well, if that motherfucker can get it, I know I can get it, because I ain't done half the shit he did. Right?
Right.
Excuse me for the profanity. But
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Like, I ain't did half the shit he did. So if he was able to get it, so but more so, I wanted to get it because in the courts and as a system, you recognize me as a criminal. So now recognize me as a citizen. You recognize me for my criminal activity. Well, goddamn it, now look at me and recognize me for what I'm doing today. Yeah. Don't look past me. Don't overlook me. No, I'm going to force you. I'm going to make you acknowledge the work I'm putting in today, the same way you acknowledge the turmoil and destruction I did years ago. Yeah. Look me in my eye, judge, court, judicial system, and I want you to acknowledge me today. That was the heart of it. Acknowledge me today. Yeah. Because they don't acknowledge us. They don't. You have so many folks come home from prison and change their lives around. I'm not the only one. And I'm not the first one. I won't be the last one. But they don't get acknowledged. They do not get acknowledged. And when they run into the law, that background tears everything apart for them. Just like when I got my job, right?
Right.
I lost my job because I got a promotion. I worked hard and was recognized, and they wanted to promote me. And that promotion required me to drive company cars, which required them to run a license check. And then that license check brought my background. And you know what they didn't say? Yeah, you got a background, but damn, you working so hard to want to promote him, we can overlook that. No, they walked me straight to the gate, took my ID and said, see you later. We're never acknowledged. And so I wanted them to acknowledge me. Yeah.
When Scott and I saw the email inviting us to Alta Adams for a celebration, we didn't know what we were celebrating. I think your birthday was around then, wasn't it?
It was the same. It was a double celebration.
Yeah. So
thank my wife, Renee.
Yes. Shout out to Renee. She did an amazing job. That's a whole nother story.
You guys are super cute, by the way.
Really cute, right?
Stop it. You want to see a black man blush?
Yes. Well, you did.
Yeah, you
That's
did.
what I'm saying. And so we got there, and we were, just really enjoying the vibe, and people were dressed up.
Yes.
People came out to celebrate. It was just an array, a really diverse crowd.
So let's remember in the book, I said that I wanted to open my own restaurant in order to have a black tie 40th birthday party.
You did? I don't remember that.
Yes. So I talked about how I wanted to have a black tie event birthday party at my own restaurant. Right?
Look at that.
And that event, we were able to pull that off. My own restaurant, black tie, dressed up, supported by family and friends. Yeah, and at the same time, we had just accomplished the certificate of rehabilitation.
You and Scott both had on black button-down shirts and black blazers.
Yeah,
You're like the
we
same.
got the memo.
I called him.
You called him. It was a beautiful celebration. We were all called to the back patio, and it was at that time. It was Eric Adams.
Yes.
Who was the attorney?
Yes.
Who was the attorney? Who was the one who got this, right? He was the one.
And so yes, Eric is a great defense attorney. He grew up in Long Beach, so he grew up in the same situations. And so one of Eric's thing is he actually defends kids from our community. He started off as a public defender and then opened his own firm. Mm. But he still gives his time like a public defender does to take on cases for people that can't pay for it, right? And so he's a brother of mine. He's not just my lawyer because, God forbid I ever need a criminal lawyer again. But he's a close friend, family friend, and when I brought it to his attention about the certificate of rehabilitation, he had to research it. Here it is, a lawyer.
See, I wasn't the only one.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No one knows.
No.
So he had to research it. And when he researched it, he was like, great, I don't know how to do it. We'll figure it out together, right? And we did that. We figured it out together. And what we also figured out was all the roadblocks that are in place, all the hurdles that are in place to detour you from pursuing a certificate of rehabilitation.
Yeah. I mean, I read the steps. I was tired by like the fourth step.
Yeah, but even through those steps, right? So let's say if I qualify for a certificate of rehabilitation 7 years after the crime was committed, now in this document, I have to recall the criminal act, the day, the time, the arrest, and all this, right? I don't remember that 7 years. Like, I was probably under the influence, like whatever. I was young, whatever the case, whatever it is. Like, you're talking to me you're asking me to recall something 7 years ago to the day, right? You also want me to gather documents that you already have access to. Right. And so now I have to go have these human interactions with people in an authority position that already look down on me, right? Being a criminal that are going to be dismissive. Come back. Well, you need to go to another department. Just all these deterrents to just make you say, forget it.
Give up.
You have to go to the probation department. If you're on probation, they send you back to the sheriff department. The sheriff department send you back to the court clerks. And so I was fortunate because Eric, being a lawyer for the public defender, being a prior lawyer for the public defender's office and being an officer of the court, he had relationships.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
But how many of us have these relationships to be able to leverage them to move the dial? And so it's so hard to obtain. And they only hear certificate of rehabilitations on Thursday. I was the only one in the courtroom.
Really?
Out of all the people that's been convicted and being released,
you were the only
throughout California, or even for this was in criminal court building, throughout LA, I was the only one in the courtroom today seeking this. I had letters from the mayor. I had letters from the city council. I had letters from the county representatives. I had letters from other professionals, partners, and submitted all those things. And you know what the judge said? Yeah, I don't care about none of this. He said, I'm not going to deny you today. He said, but what I want you to do, I want you to go back and get me some letters from people that know you.
That's right.
Now watch this.
Yeah.
What makes you think that they don't know me? Because I have a criminal background, I can't have a relationship with the mayor? I can't have a relationship with the county representatives, what makes you think that they don't know me? That they can't write on my behalf? And so I went and, I was a little deflated, almost ready to give up. And my team rallied. So my employees, co-workers, they all wrote letters. People I grew up with sent letters. And when we turned it in and got a hearing, the judge got all information and said, I'm going to take a quick recess. And he went back to his chambers. And he came back and called me up. And usually asks you, what do you want this for? And he didn't even ask me that. He went straight in and said that I've read the letters. He said I was a detective in South LA, in my area of the Grape Streets. He was a prosecutor in Compton Court, and he was a judge in Compton Court. And he sat on the bench on many of murder cases coming out of the Jordandale housing projects. And to see you come from that and have all these stories and testimonies about what you're doing today, the judge said, I am honored to grant this certificate of rehabilitation. And I'm going to put in a recommendation to the governor for a pardon.
Keith.
That was one of the most amazing feelings, because you know what? If you recall why I wanted to pursue this was for them to recognize, and that judge did. And he openly recognized it in court.
Yeah. You were seen.
I was seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that going to be in the TV show? Because that's an amazing scene.
Yes. I don't know.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about that, because we're almost out of time. But
man.
Yeah, I know. Scott's going to come in and talk to you.
I thought we had 90 minutes. It's only at 46.
We allow 90 minutes, but okay. No, we can go a little bit longer. But tell me, well, okay, before we move to the TV show, I just want to reflect back to you that. First of all, you made me tear up just then when you were telling that story. That is such a powerful story.
Yeah, it is.
And being there, Scott and I being there, that when Eric was there, Eric also does estate planning. I'm planning to go to him.
Awesome.
For some estate work, so you don't have to have a criminal case. You could still go see Eric Adams, Esquire. Right?
Yes, you can contact Eric for anything.
Yeah.
Right. He's one of those guys that will, you know what? Let's journey it together.
Yeah.
I
mean, obviously, that's what he did with you, right?
I'm going to need your help.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to do a part. I'm going to do a part. We're going to learn it and figure it out together. So, yes, he's not just a criminal defense attorney. He is a guy that will represent you and help you figure it out.
Excellent.
And because he's learning along the way.
Yeah.
Right? And through that learning, he can help other people. So.
But seeing the two of you stand there and watching you just exactly what you just kind of did here, which was be overwhelmed and then so we were then overwhelmed. Scott is usually the first person to well up out of the two of us.
Hey now.
What?
You big crybaby, you.
I am, man. I got a big heart.
But I was so teary. Like, I really thought, okay, this isn't just a birthday party. We are here to celebrate this amazing thing that's happened without understanding what the process was exactly. And I know a lot more about it from my research and everything you just
difficult?
Said. Ooh, yes. It is difficult.
And seeing your community and that night, witness it with you.
Yes.
I mean, it was magical. I mean, if you saw it and wrote about it and you dreamed about it and then you put it into play, I mean, it was amazing life execution. Yeah. It was so. I can't even describe to people
Thank you.
What a moment that was.
Yeah.
But let's just
we tried.
real quick.
Yeah.
The important, like what you, so with an expungement.
Yes.
Right. What an expungement does is it blocks certain criminal cases or convictions from background checks.
Yes.
So if you're trying to get an apartment or if you're trying to get a job, right,
they won't see it. Yeah.
What it does not do is reinstate your citizenships and your rights that was taken away from you from your conviction or your incarceration. Like that's the part it doesn't fix. The certificate of rehabilitation, it gives you back certain rights and citizenship. That you lose.
Can you give me an example of one?
Yeah. Well, they just changed the law now, but the right to vote. Right?
Yeah.
To be a participant in voting rights.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a really big one.
Yeah.
That's a really big one because that and voting is really controversial. But a lot of people don't believe that it works or that it counts. But the ability to be able to vote, like to be kept from voting because you don't have that right, is a really big deal. And when it's reinstated or it's not taken away from you.
Also, the right to so when you're convicted or you have a criminal background check, you get put over by the police, you have no rights. They can just search your car. They can just for a regular citizen.
Yeah,
they would have to ask you.
They have
can I search your car?
Right,
or they have to have probable cause.
Yes,
right. You lose those rights.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So you lose that.
But now you have those rights back.
Yeah. My background only affects me if I was to catch another case and they use it against me in court.
Right.
Outside of court.
Right.
Outside of facing criminal charges in court, my background does not exist.
They can't arrest you because of it, but once you're in court, they can bring it up.
It don't even come up when they put me over.
Right.
It's shielded. So, but the DA, the district attorney, has access and they can use it as habitual or whatever the case may be, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, they cannot use that when they're dealing with me in the streets. Yeah, at all.
I mean, and it's, again, this is something I'd never heard of, that I heard of for the first time when we were at, when is your birthday? When was
November
that?
21st.
November 20th, that's right.
Yeah.
You are Scorpio.
Scorpio Sag.
Yeah. I like both.
Okay.
I like both, but I'm really partial to Sagittarians because my son Justin is a Sagittarian.
Okay.
So I had
you
not
only
heard
like
of
half
it.
of me.
Yeah. No. I like all of you, but I'm just partial to half of you. So I hadn't heard of it until then, and you received it right around then. Was that?
Yeah, I had just received it.
You had just received it. Because there was this jubilance, this feeling, like I was saying, you were saying you want to see a black man blush. Like we saw you blushing. Yeah. Your wife was next to you. Then there was Eric and his wife.
Yes.
And there was just this ripple through the crowd of people that had gathered to watch this.
A lot of them was going through the process with me. A lot of them wrote letters. They followed the whole situation.
Yeah. It was very much the feeling of a community. I think, hon, we both felt like we had stepped into a community within a community.
Yeah,
right?
we felt like guests.
Honored guests.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I dressed appropriately, apparently.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, just imagine for me, right? Here it is, a guy, grew up in the projects, sold drugs, gang bang, used drugs, went to prison, did all this stuff, right? And on that day, I was able to look out and see people from different races, cultures, professions, from mayors to city councils to personal friends to police lieutenants to all kind of people from walks of life there to support and love on me. Mm. Like, that was big for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was amazing, right? The whole certificate of rehabilitation thing started It's because I was able to contact Gascon, our district attorney.
Really?
Yes, like to be able to call these people, like call and have a conversation. That's unimaginable for me.
No.
Given where I come from, my background.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was the part that bothered me.
Was that you had this access that other people don't?
Yeah, because that gave me the leverage to be able to accomplish this, right? And so everybody, like others don't have that leverage or these relationships. But then also, it's like, okay, I've been accepted. See, that's what the judge don't know when he had me go back and get those other letters was I went in wanting to be recognized, but I also went in like, fuck you and your certificate of rehabilitation because my community already recognized me.
Yes.
From the letters, when I read them, they already recognized me.
Yeah. They did.
You know what I mean?
They do. Yeah, that's why I was asking. You have this standing in the community. You're loved. You give back. You are an example of what's possible. But I understand now why the certificate of rehabilitation, to be seen by everyone.
Yeah.
The way you are seen by your community.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
It's important.
Just to take all the other stuff off that doesn't matter, that doesn't represent you, who you are right now.
Yeah.
Without disregarding your story of how you got to be here, because that's the important thing, right? You can't be an example if you don't claim your story.
Yeah, and take it off or don't take it off, right? Take it off or don't take it off. I'm not looking to get in trouble, so I don't care if you pull me over and that shit come up in your system.
Right.
Like, I'm not looking to deal with that no more. When I say the recognition by the system is that judge.
Yes. Yeah.
Usually when we walk in this courtroom, you're looking down on me. Now I want you to.
Yeah, look me eye to eye.
Eye to eye. That's
Do you know who was the judge?
I don't know. Shit.
we know one judge. We know Judge Craig Mitchell, who's in the criminal courts.
Yeah.
He came on and did an interview with us. But we know two. We know Kimberly. I forgot her last name, but yeah, man, it's so back to the TV show. Are they just doing what's in the book, or are they going to go beyond? Do you know?
So the TV show has been like this roller coaster. Like, it is like the longest process in the world.
Yeah.
Right, and then everything has time attached to it, right? And so, just had a meeting last week, and the Paramount is looking to go wide to try to pitch it to networks.
Okay.
See if they're willing to pick it up and make it.
I mean, I just
so the
can't
script
imagine.
Is wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be the Black Bear.
And Chris Stoyer. So Chris Stoyer is a really good friend of mine.
But I feel some shy in it too. Like,
yeah.
You know,
the early shy.
The early shy. Yeah.
The early shy.
Yeah.
And so, as long as we're not doing Breaking Bad or The Wire.
No.
But Chris is a really good friend of mine. When we started at Loco, Chris was the camera guy that was actually documenting that story.
No way.
So Chris has already about over 100 hours of footage because I was his subject about the story of Loco. So
that's really cool.
And so I had just met with Chris. We see each other quite often then. So I had just met with him at Alta and was like, hey, you think I can come by and kind of pick through the footage and like get some of the material? Because like you're not doing nothing with it. He's like, sure, bro, it's no problem. And then the bear comes out.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
We'll communicate message back. Like he actually just had the team reach out to me because they're doing a premiere party. Here
it's coming out soon.
And so I'll be there cooking. So he had them reach out to bring me in. But it's like, hey, I know you're killing it right now, but you still have time to go sit in and let me go through this footage.
Yes.
Yeah. So, But, the bear's so hot, if he takes that footage and makes something with it, like, hey, more power.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Whatever makes it happen.
Hey, whatever makes it happen. I just don't want it to die on the vine.
I don't think it will. I think the story is just too good. It's too delicious.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's too real. It's too true.
Real. Yeah. That last scene that you just, I know it wasn't a scene, it's your life, but the way you described what just happened, like the most recent thing with the certificate of rehabilitation, that is, and your life is going to continue on. There's going to be more. There's going to be more. There's going to be more scenes. There's going to be more episodes. There's going to be, it's just, I think it's too good. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I'm going to suggest an episode for you.
Tell me.
That I would love to hear, because I've actually been trying to get educated on this. Right? So here it is. I'm a young black man growing up in South Central Watts, right? I can get arrested and get convicted. And I lose the right to vote. And I lose the right to bear arms. Right? Here it is. Trump can get convicted and still run for presidency.
Yeah.
And have access to the most powerful weapon on the planet. How does that even make sense? Can that even be explained?
It doesn't.
And why wasn't I aware that even though I'm convicted and I don't have the right to vote, that I can still run for presidency?
Yeah, because you're a natural born citizen.
Why don't we know this? Because when you get convicted and you lose so many rights, you kind of give up on society. You kind of give up on being in pursuit of being a productive citizen.
Right.
Right? Like, I can't get a job because of my background. I can't get an apartment because of my background. I can't get a loan from the bank because of my background, because of this conviction. Like, you've taken everything away from me with this background check situation.
Yeah.
And so I kind of give up.
But you can run for president.
And so,
yeah.
Like, even with knowing that, I may pursue that so I can change some of this stuff. But we don't know that we have that ability.
It's information.
Or that opportunity.
Information is power.
That's crazy.
Yes. It is crazy. It is crazy. And I could talk a lot about that. I'm not going to talk anymore about what's going on politically currently, but I think that what you're doing, and I'm wrapping this up here, but I think that what you're doing, what Scott and I have witnessed, right? When we come in to eat there, the people that we see there, the tone of the restaurant, the welcoming.
It's a community.
It's a community. The food is delicious.
Thank you. Say it again.
The food is delicious.
I love those. There's non-alcoholic. There's lime.
The limeade, the sparkling.
Oh, those are so good. Yeah,
yes. They're so good. You drink like 6 or 7 of those.
I drink them
while we're there.
Yeah.
That's why you ride so far.
I can't drive home afterwards.
But the food is delicious. But that's not the only reason to go.
No.
There are so many more reasons to go. But to be a part of this community and to know that this community was formed out of an idea to create a community out of people who may not have had a chance to ascend in the way that you have.
Great choice of words.
Yeah. And that's what's really powerful. That's why we're going to keep having you on the show, is to continue to talk about what you're doing and how you're doing it. I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
On the certificate of rehabilitation. It is a big deal. And I know so much more about what a big deal it is now. I have mad respect for the process that you and Eric went through to get this for you. And you didn't just get it for you. You got it for everyone.
Yeah.
You got it for everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.